Okay, so what is a conversion factor and how are we going to use them to be able to convert units from one type of unit to the other? First off, you need to understand what a conversion factor is. A conversion factor is a quantity. It is basically an equality. Okay, so you're going to have an equality equation where one thing is equal to another. When you have that expression, you can express them in a ratio or fractional form. Okay, so we are going to take an equality. So basically we can say, here that one circle is equal to 2 squares. Okay, so that's an equality. Okay, so I can take any equality and use that as a conversion factor. So I can now convert between the units of circle and square. I can also do the same thing as if I said 1 square is equal to 3 hearts. Okay, so now what I've done is because I have these two equalities, I could take a unit of a circle and convert it into the unit of a heart because of the relationships shown in the equalities. When you have equalities, you can express them in fractional form, meaning I can take this equality and I can now write it as a ratio or a fraction. I can say 1 circle is my numerator and 2 squares in my denominator. But I can also, because they are, the way they are with their properties, I can also inverse them, meaning I could also write it 2 square over 1 circle. Okay, you can use the inverse. You can do the same thing over here with our squares and our hearts. I could say in my numerator 1 square over 3 hearts, or I can do the inverse and say 3 hearts over 1 square. All right, both would work. And we're going to talk about why that's important later, but they mean the same thing. All right, so let's use an actual quantity that we know. We know that if there are 12 eggs, it is called a dozen. So we can write the standard equality form, which we call the standard form of a conversion factor, as 1 dozen equals 12 eggs. Now, again, because it means the same thing, I could have written 12 eggs equals 1 dozen. It doesn't matter which way you write them. They mean the same thing, and both equality holds true. Okay? All right. So I can take any standard form and I can write it in fractional form. So I can write 1 dozen, right, like I did right here. I can write 1 dozen over 12 eggs. Okay? That's correctly written. I can do the inverse of it, and it still means the same thing. 12 eggs over 1 dozen. And the reason we can flip-flop the numerator and the denominator is because conversion factors are just ratios. And you could say, with a ratio, you can say 1 to 3, or you can say 3 to 1, depending on what the 1 means and what the 3 means.